My name is Minnie, and 2 years ago, on Christmas Eve, my father handed me a folded piece of paper that unraveled 15 years of silence in about 4 minutes, flat. No bow, no ribbon, just a crease down the middle, and my mother watching me with eyes that were calm in a way that made my stomach drop. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to the beginning, because you need to understand what kind of family we were before you can understand what that letter meant. We were the kind of family that smiled through everything. Holidays were performances, dinners were rehearsals, and for as long as I can remember, there was one unspoken rule that governed every gathering, every phone call, every moment. Don't upset Madison. My sister Madison was beautiful in that effortless way that makes other people feel slightly inadequate. Straight A's without studying, full academic scholarship, dream career, then a husband from a wealthy family, tall and quiet, and exactly the kind of man you'd cast in that role if you were writing a movie. She moved through life like the rules bent slightly in her favor, and honestly, for a long time, I believed they did. Meanwhile, I was working 3 jobs through nursing school. I lived above Mrs. Chen's restaurant on the corner of 5th and Maple. Every night around 2 in the morning, the smell of fried rice would drift up through my floorboards, and I'd be at my kitchen table studying pharmacology with cold coffee and notes written in 3 different colored pens. I wasn't miserable. I want to be clear about that. I actually loved my life. It was small and mine, and I'd built every corner of it with my own hands. But family dinners had a way of making me forget that. Your sister just got promoted, Minnie. Madison's thinking about buying a second property. Isn't that exciting? Did you hear about Madison's award at work? Their praise for her was thunder. Mine was a polite, brief whisper, the kind you give someone you're glad exists, but don't quite know what to celebrate. And I told myself it was fine, that it wasn't a competition, that I was above needing that kind of validation. I was lying to myself, but it was a comfortable lie, so I kept it. Then came the fertility years, 4 years of treatments, waiting rooms, and carefully managed hope. Madison and Jake were trying to have a child, and I understood, truly, that that kind of pain is its own private universe. I never once resented her for hurting. Pain doesn't need to be earned, but here's what I couldn't reconcile: the way the entire family reorganized itself around her grief, while mine was treated like an inconvenience. When I got engaged to Marcus, she cried through dinner, not happy tears, the kind that shift the energy in a room so completely that suddenly the celebration is over and everyone's doing damage control. My parents left my side to comfort her. Marcus held my hand under the table and said nothing, because we both knew speaking would only make it worse. At our wedding, Madison sighed audibly during photos. Her toast wandered into territory that felt more like a therapy session than a celebration. I smiled. I thanked her. I kept moving, because family is family, right? That's the phrase I used to talk myself out of every feeling that inconvenienced everyone else. Family is family. Say it enough times and it stops meaning anything and starts functioning like a lock on a door you're not supposed to open. I opened it the day I told them I was pregnant. Marcus and I had been trying quietly. No announcements, no build-up, because we both knew the minefield we were walking. When I finally called my parents with the news, I was shaking from how happy I was. That specific private happiness that doesn't need applause. It just needs to exist. Madison exploded. She called my mother and accused me of doing it on purpose, to rub it in, as if a child growing in my body was somehow an act of aggression. My parents said nothing in my defense, not one word, just the sound of everyone carefully navigating around her reaction while I stood in mine alone. A week later, I lost the baby. I'm not going to dress that up. A miscarriage at 12 weeks is not a footnote. It's a grief that sits somewhere between your chest and your throat and doesn't fully leave. It changes the texture of certain songs, certain seasons, certain Tuesday afternoons when the light hits wrong and you just feel it. Madison didn't call when my mother told her. She said, maybe that's the universe teaching Minnie gratitude. That sentence, I can still feel exactly where it landed. My father prayed. My mother said she didn't mean it, but we all knew she did. And we all knew that my parents knew she did. And nobody said a word about it. That was the moment something shifted in me, not dramatically. I didn't slam any doors or issue any ultimatums. I just quietly stopped waiting for the apology that was never coming. I stopped asking my family to be fair. You can only reach for something so many times before the reaching itself starts to hurt more than the absence. Grief taught me silence. Their silence taught me the rest. I started pulling back, not in anger. I want to be careful about that because anger at least has energy in it. This was something quieter, exhaustion. The particular exhaustion of bleeding privately while maintaining the performance of being fine. We started declining gatherings, half the birthdays, half the dinners. Work schedules and long drives became our most trusted excuses. My mother said I was punishing the whole family. My father called it holding grudges. I went home and cried on the bathroom floor. Not because they were right, they weren't, but because there is a specific kind of pain in being misunderstood by people who are supposed to know you best. I wasn't punishing anyone. I was protecting something small and bruised inside myself that couldn't survive another dinner where one person's mood determined whether joy was permitted. In our family, self-preservation looked exactly like betrayal, and I hated that I couldn't have both. Marcus noticed everything. One evening, driving home from Easter dinner, where Madison had left the table in tears after my cousin announced her engagement, taking the celebration with her in both hands, he slammed his palm against the steering wheel and said, "This is insane, Minnie. One person's emotions have veto power over your entire family." He'd been right for years. I just didn't know what to do with that truth yet. Christmas Eve arrived the way it always does, a little too quickly, a little too bright. Soft light through the front windows, the smell of pine and cinnamon and prime rib from the kitchen. Madison was in a rare, generous mood. She hugged me when we came in, held it a beat longer than usual. I noticed. I filed it away. Dinner was easy, genuinely easy, laughter that didn't feel performed. For a moment, one fragile, luminous moment, I let myself believe something had shifted, that maybe time and distance had quietly done the work none of us had been willing to do out loud. Then Dad cleared his throat. Mum reached under the tree and handed Madison a thick white envelope. The room leaned forward. Madison tore it open, and her gasp was immediate. "Oh my God, Jake, it's the lake house." Tears, applause, hugs that bent at the waist. Mum crying the happy kind this time. "It's for your future family," she said. "Kids will love it out there." I smiled. Marcus found my hand under the table. Then Dad turned to me. "And we have something for you too, Minnie." My mother reached not under the tree but into her pocket. A small folded square of paper. No envelope, no ribbon, just paper, creased and waiting. She held it out. "Go ahead, honey. Read it out loud." Her voice was gentle. Her eyes were serious. The room was watching. I unfolded it. "Dear Minnie and Marcus," I began reading aloud, my voice finding its footing. "We've watched you work hard to build a life. Real, honest work with no safety net. and no shortcuts. Madison was smiling politely. I kept going. Your dedication has shown us what character actually looks like. Her smile faltered. We know it hasn't always been easy. You've been patient and kind and mature, even when that kindness wasn't returned. The room went still. Marcus sat up slightly beside me. We're giving you the wedding gift we should have given years ago. $50,000 toward your first home. Madison's color changed. Jake looked down. And we're paying off your remaining student loans. This isn't a loan. This is what we should have done instead of enabling the behavior that hurt you and hurt this family. The fireplace crackled. Nothing else moved. We love both our daughters, but love without honesty isn't love. It's avoidance. We hope this helps you build a life surrounded by people who celebrate you. With all our love, Mom and Dad. Silence. The real kind. The kind that has weight. Then Madison's chair scraped back. What the hell is this? Her voice cracked through the quiet like something dropped on tile. Mom flinched. Dad stayed very still. It's the truth, he said. Madison's eyes moved to me. You made them write this. Marcus was on his feet before I'd fully processed what was happening. She didn't make anyone do anything. Jake said her name softly. She ignored him. This is punishment, she said. Her voice kept breaking and rebuilding. For what? For being the favorite. You've always wanted to make me look bad, Minnie. You've spent years waiting for this. I stayed in my chair. I kept my voice as even as I could manage. I didn't write that letter, Madison. You wrote it. One decision at a time. Oh, 15 years. Her face twisted. So you're perfect now. Marcus shook his head slowly. Perfect? She spent years apologizing for existing. She lost a pregnancy, and your response was that the universe was teaching her a lesson. The room inhaled. Madison's lips parted. I was hurting. We all were, I said, but I didn't turn my pain into a weapon and aim it at the people I loved. She flinched. It was small, but I saw it. Dad spoke quietly, the way he does when he means to be heard. We enabled this, Madison. We walked on eggshells for so long we forgot what the floor felt like. That was our failure, not yours alone, ours. Enabled? Her voice climbed. You just gave her $90,000 and called me toxic. You received a $400,000 lake house, Mom said gently. We are not leaving you behind. We are asking you to stop leaving us. Tears were moving down Madison's face now. She wasn't performing them. They were just happening. This isn't about money, she said. Then, what is it about? I asked. A long pause. Control, she admitted finally, like the word cost her something. It's about everyone finally saying what they actually think of me. Jake's voice came from beside her, quiet and steady. Then listen. He almost never spoke at family gatherings, not like this. You've made every room about your pain, he said. Every holiday, every dinner, every announcement that should have been someone else's moment. I love you, but I'm exhausted. You cannot be happy for anyone, not even yourself. She turned to him. Jake, I'm not leaving, he said. I'm asking you to come back. The fireplace popped softly. Somewhere in the kitchen, a timer ticked. Madison pressed her hands flat against the table and finally let herself fall apart. I don't know how to stop, she said. I don't even know when it started. I don't remember how to be happy for her. I stood up, walked around the table, sat down in the chair beside her. You start by trying, I said. That's all. You don't have to feel it perfectly yet. You just have to try. She looked at me for a long moment. Something moved across her face that I hadn't seen in years. She nodded. Madison started therapy in January. It wasn't a transformation. Life rarely offers those. It was slow and non-linear and occasionally ugly. There were relapses and silences, and Sunday phone calls where I could hear her searching for words she hadn't learned yet. But she kept going back. Week after week, she kept going back. The apologies came gradually, not the kind designed to end an argument, but the kind that sit with the specific weight of what they're acknowledging. She said my name. When she apologized, she named what she'd done. That mattered more than I expected, more than I had room to anticipate. My mother started calling just to talk, not to mediate, not to report, just to talk. My father laughed during Sunday dinner in a way that sounded like relief. The air in that house changed. You could breathe in it again without bracing. 6 months later, Marcus and I bought a house. Small, a little crooked, wide windows that filled the living room with afternoon light, creaky floors that announced every footstep. I loved it immediately and completely. Madison showed up moving day with no warning and no agenda, just showed up, helped carry boxes up a narrow staircase, ate cold pizza sitting on the kitchen floor, teased Marcus about his extensive collection of power tools that he has never once used correctly. When she hugged me goodbye at the end of the day, she said, "I'm happy for you, Minnie." I believed her. For the first time in longer than I can honestly remember, I believed her. I still think about that Christmas Eve, not with the sharpness I used to, not that particular ache that used to live just below my sternum. Something softer now, more like understanding. What changed our family wasn't the money. The money was a symbol, an acknowledgement written in the only language that would be impossible to misread in that room on that night. What changed us was the decision to stop protecting the fiction, to say, this is broken and we are done pretending it isn't. We all paid the price for years of silence. Everyone in that room carried some version of that cost. My parents carried the guilt of knowing they'd chosen comfort over honesty for too long. Marcus carried the quiet fury of watching someone he loved diminish herself to keep the peace. Madison carried whatever it is you carry when you've been accommodated past the point of being challenged, when no one has ever loved you enough to tell you the truth. And I carried the accumulated weight of all those swallowed moments. Every compliment redirected, every celebration eclipsed, every dinner where I smiled at the right time and made myself smaller so the room could stay intact. Now when I visit, my sister asks about work, not as a comparison, as a question. My mother listens more than she explains. My father smiles in this particular way he has now, like he's finally set something down that was heavier than he'd admitted. We're not a fixed family. I don't think families ever fully arrive at fixed. We're learning one, slowly, imperfectly, with more honesty than we used to allow ourselves. And I have decided that is enough. Because here's what I've come to understand about peace. It doesn't live in the absence of conflict. It doesn't come from keeping your voice down and your feelings in and your needs invisible. Real peace, the kind you can actually rest inside, only comes from the willingness to say the thing that needed saying, even when your hands are shaking and the room has gone quiet and you don't know what happens next. Truth is not always gentle, but it is almost always kind in the long run. Some gifts buy comfort, some buy status, some buy a beautiful lake house with a dock and a future for your children and a mother's happy tears. But the letter my parents handed me on that Christmas Eve, that folded, unribboned, quietly devastating piece of paper, bought something none of the rest of it could. It brought us back, and I would not trade that for anything with a bow on it.